Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome again to the third webinar and final, I should say, of our exciting three-part series leading up to the 2025 Caribbean Strategy Summit. I'm honored to be here with you as the Managing Director of Strategy Plus Consulting, which is the esteemed host of this summit. Strategy Plus Consulting is a global technical partner of the Balanced Scorecard Institute based in the Caribbean. Today is the continuation of a journey that spanned three insightful webinars. Each were designed to enrich your understanding, spark innovative ideas, and prepare you for the grandeur of the summit itself. We are thrilled to welcome participants not only from the Caribbean, but also from international locations today, showcasing the vast network and influence of our summit and our partners. During this webinar, expect to dive deep into strategic concepts that will shape the future of your business and governance in the Caribbean and beyond. At the end of today's presentation, we will share some exciting details about the summit that you won't want to miss. So stay on for that. Now, our presenter today is Kurt Cornell, and he's a strategic planning, strategy execution, change management, business planning, and innovation expert with over 30 years of experience in guiding organizations to improve financial, organizational, and operational performance. He has led major transformation programs and initiatives for both the government and private sector, as well as for not-for-profits. Kurt has over 20 years of experience as a consulting practice leader for major professional service firms and over 10 years as a senior strategy, transformation, and innovation leader for major government and industry organizations that operate in over 500 locations worldwide. Prior to joining the Balanced Scorecard Institute, Kurt was the Vice President of Growth and Solution Innovation at Sasebo, one of the world's largest food service companies. Kurt is a certified change management professional, strategic planning professional, and Balanced Scorecard master professional. He currently serves on the boards of the International Association for Strategy Professionals, as well as many other boards. Kurt, as you can see, brings a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I'm confident that his insights today will significantly enrich our discourse today. Kurt, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Nichelle. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. Today, I'm going to be talking about integrating AI for planning and measurement in the strategic planning process. And I will be focusing predominantly today on some of the early phases of the strategy management, and that is the preparation for strategic planning and the actual strategic planning. At Nichelle's summit, I will actually be getting into more details on how to use AI for strategy execution. Just a quick administrative note, if you have questions, please use the Q&A box. You'll see that diagram here, and do not use a chat box for questions. Nichelle will collect all those questions, and at the end, I will do my best to answer them. Okay, the reality of AI-enabled planning. So AI is artificial intelligence is very powerful and very beneficial. And over the past few years, the Balanced Scorecard Institute, and I know many of you have incorporated AI into your strategic planning processes. There are a few things to point out, and as a prelude to what I'm going to be presenting today. First, AI generates a conventional thinking, but not customized, nuanced solutions. Those come from a human. Prompt writing can be a challenge when you're doing queries. And this really just takes practice, to be honest with you, based on my own experience. Just the different prompts and how you word the prompts. And so you oftentimes have to do follow-ups to get the kind of information that you're looking for. The other thing is that AI-generated facts are not always reliable. So you'll want to ask the questions in different ways or do the prompts in different ways. And you'll also want to verify, particularly if it's information that's critical to your strategic planning process. Now, it's really tempting to be seduced by AI as you do strategic planning. AI is not a replacement for the professional component, the human component. It is designed to enhance the process. So as far as I've seen so far, there's no tool that you can sort of divest everything to come up with your strategic plan. And the other thing is the AI output may not match the lexicon you want to use internally for your strategic planning. For example, we use the term strategic themes, and oftentimes people will use the term goals instead of strategic themes. So you'll want to tailor whatever you get from AI to meet the specific needs for your strategic planning process. Now, AI-enabled planning is good for kickstarting the process and new ideas, and this is what we use it for. Oftentimes, things like how do I, doing some background research, or how do I develop sample objectives or sample measures. And so it'll get the, creative juices flowing. It'll help in the process. Again, not a replacement for the human element. The other thing is it expands research, but it does so at a high level. And then the other thing that I'm sure many of you use it for is if you use ChatGPT, or if you use Microsoft Copilot, is very good for wordsmithing, writing, outlining, and so forth. And then it is a very powerful tool for analysis and synthesis. Okay, let's talk about how we leverage it. So this is the framework that we use at the Balanced Scorecard Institute when we provide consulting services and training. And there, as you can see, many of you probably, many, if not most of you, are familiar with this. But just to review it really quickly, these are the 3 phases that we use when we lay out our 9-step strategy management process. The first is the pre-planning, which is a lot of that is just the preparation for the actual strategic planning workshops, to the strategic planning process. So the strategy research and preparation, which I'll talk about here in a moment, stakeholder engagement, and then oftentimes look at what we do before we get into a workshop. We'll do that orientation training. And then the balanced strategy development, that's the process we use for the development of the balanced scorecard or the balanced strategic plan. And then as we move to the right, we deal with, refining the measures, the initiatives, selecting the programs and services. And then to the far right in strategy execution, building your KPI dashboard, your initiative management dashboard, or your project management dashboard, management plans, and then setting budgets, and then ultimately the execution, where we use performance reporting and analytics, management reporting, and reviews. And it says technology integration and enablement there at the bottom, and that's predominantly for your KPI dashboarding, your initiative management, and those types of things. But technology can be embedded in all 3 of these phases. Okay, so let's talk about where we can use AI in pre-planning and the preparation work before you start your strategic planning. And I'm going to give you examples specifically for 2 different types of analyses that many of you are familiar with. First is the SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, which is very common. I'm sure many of you all have used it. And the other is the PESTLE analysis. So for a city, what I did is I did some prompts around development of a SWOT analysis for a city. I wanted to do a SWOT analysis. I want to do it for a specific application, in this case, a city. And I wanted to get that done, at least initially, using AI. And this is what it came back with. This is actually for the city of Boston, that's my hometown. So it lays out all the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And not only does it provide the kind of information you're looking at right now, but it provides lots of detail behind it. Now, does it replace a SWOT analysis that you would do as a group, with people involved? No. But does it get the process going? Absolutely. And as many of you know, what the AI tools will provide is they'll do deep research, they'll do wide research to give you to assimilate and synthesize all the different ideas. And And this is the kind of information you'll get back. So we've used AI for SWOT analysis going into a strategic planning workshop to, again, to get the process going. Pestle analysis, many of you are probably familiar with. This is political and economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental assessments. Again, I did this for the city of Boston, and it did a pretty good job. Now, there was no specific, if I hadn't used AI, and I just simply said, hey, I want the pestle analysis for Boston, and I tried that. I couldn't get it because there wasn't one available. But it's able to assimilate all kinds of information from various websites, and this is how it comes up with the pestle analysis here. Okay, in the strategic planning phase, as we move into that phase, it's also very beneficial. One of the things we have found when we're doing consulting work, we're doing training, providing classes, is the students or the clients have difficulty coming up with things like, what's a good strategic objective as I look across the different perspectives? What are some good performance measures? What should my targets be? What are some good sample initiatives? These types of things. Again, AI can help you in a big way. It can provide you with lots of different ideas and examples that you can choose from, or at least will get the creative juices flowing. So in this case, what I did is I went in and I used some prompts to try to get strategic objectives, performance measures for a city. And I didn't name any specific city. I just wanted examples, right? So for example, it gave me some strategic objectives. These are 4 different strategic objectives, and it has the objective commentary with them. It gave me about a dozen, so I'm just showing you a few of them, and they're pretty good. And as I looked out on for clients that we've done with municipal governments, or I scan across the web, you'll see a lot of these are pretty common. But again, it provides you with these, it provides you with the objective commentary. You can take a look at it and say, yeah, I don't quite like the wording, or no, that's not, I don't want to put that in my strategic plan, that sort of thing. But again, at least it gets the process going. Okay, now I zeroed in specifically on quality of life. Quality of life as measured by things like, health and well-being, a variety of different aspects of people's quality of life. And I said, basically I was looking for sample quality of life measures, again, in a municipal environment, a municipal government environment. And these are just 2 of the different types of categories of measures that I was looking for. So the first was health and well-being. As you can see, life expectancy, access to healthcare services, obesity, these types of things. And it came up with these different measures. If I did some further digging, I'm sure I could get another 10, 15, 20 measures. And the same thing on the right-hand side, you'll see economic opportunity and stability. You've got, median household income, poverty rates, cost of living and wage growth index, these types of things. Now, it will give you these measures. You can then even go one step further and say, hey, I would like to identify, well, for my city or for my organization, what should my targets be? So for example, I went in to look at some work that I've done, quite a bit of work that dealing with the issue of obesity. So I asked questions around, well, what is the US obesity rate? And then for my specific city, in this case, Boston, what's the obesity rate? In the US is 42, and in Boston it's about 20, a little over 20. But then you could say, what should a good target be for me, or for my city, or for my organization, whatever may be the case, and it'll give you some examples. Now, does that mean you just grab that? No. It's a good starting point, and then you'll have to do further research to make sure that those numbers are accurate, and that you obviously, so you pick the right targets. The other thing you'd want to look at is, can I develop composite rates, which is the ideal scenario, like quality of life. There's composite rates like quality of life index, world, happiness rate, those types of things that are really good ones. And they actually didn't pop up when I posed this question or when I posed this prompt. So what about when we get into strategic initiatives and projects? And this is where you start the prompting and you dig and you dig and you dig. And I've only dug a little bit here for each one. So for example, the prompt was, provide examples of evidence-based initiatives that cities have used to reduce obesity. So it's going to go out there and scan, and it's going to give you a lot of different initiatives that cities have used. I'm particularly interested in evidence-based initiatives that have worked, proven to be effective. I get all kinds of information back. I'm not displaying it here. It would take me a long time to go through it, and it'd be many, many slides, but there's plenty of good information out there. And then the follow-up might be, okay, which ones have been found to be the most cost effective? Or which ones have the highest return on investment? A little harder to gauge, but another follow-up prompt. And then I want to say, okay, look, you give me an example that dealt with, nutrition in an elementary school or in a K-12 program, whatever may be the case. Provide me with a detailed plan for implementing that, and it will give you pretty good plans. And you'll want to, you don't want to say, give me one plan. This says that here, but it could be, provide examples of plans, or you take a look at that and say, okay, I want to see other examples. The second bullet point here, provide example of strategic initiatives that cities have used to reduce homelessness. And then the follow-up being, and again, it gave me all kinds of great examples of initiatives and projects that cities have used effectively to reduce homelessness. And then the follow-up was, particularly when it deals with low-income housing, which came up as an initiative, can you provide some examples of actual low-income housing development plans, which it did. And then lastly, how can cities improve public transportation? Provides me with all kinds of examples, all kinds of initiatives and projects. And then I zero in from that and say, yeah, but I'm specifically interested in walking and biking, pedestrianization, those types of things, and I can dig deeper into that. All right, what I'm not going to talk about today, but I will be talking about during the Caribbean Summit, will be the advanced AI capabilities. These are not the off-the-shelf tools like I'm sure you all have used ChatGPT, the Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, all kinds of different tools that are out that are low or no cost. But this really gets into tools that are either specifically for these applications, or it might be embedded in a strategy management software platform. And again, I'll be talking about that a little more, but here's, as an example, predictive analytics. So algorithms that can help you forecast market trends, customer behavior, and those types of things. So some really great predictive analytic capabilities that are out there. And this is after the data is already in. So you've already done a lot of what I've just described, but then it gets into the detail and it does forecasting, these are the most advanced applications where AI is being used in strategy management. Sorry about that, folks. Got ahead of myself. Advanced analytics and dashboards. This is for real-time data integration, predictive analytics, and customized dashboards. And then scenario planning, sort of a what-if analysis. And this is particularly powerful, where you can look at what are some potential outcomes based on different scenarios. What are the risks associated with those that help you can take a look at, what are the best courses of action. And then collaboration, which a lot of the strategy management software that's out there today has excellent collaboration features when you're working on large projects, when you're reviewing performance, when you're doing scenario analysis, those types of things. So having that collaboration is sort of becoming more the norm as you do strategy management. And many of the major software companies provide that feature as part of their application. These are just some of the tools that I've mentioned, ChatGPT, Canva, Copilot, Perplexity, ClickUp, and Gemini. There are more, but these are the ones that are either no cost or low cost that you can use. For this presentation, I use ChatGPT and I use Copilot, but you can, you can use these for anything that you need to do. I should mention that a lot of organizations, if you're a small or medium-sized organizations, you may not have the resources to buy the strategy management software. You may not have the resources to hire a consultant. So having, being able to use these kinds of tools, perhaps sending your people to training, um, and then developing your strategic plan and your strategy management system in-house. It's better than it was, 10 years ago because we didn't have these kinds of tools. So they're particularly beneficial for small organizations that, don't have the resources, as I mentioned, for, significant strategic planning processes. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And for those of you that have asked questions, we'll go ahead and let Nichelle pose those questions to me, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you very much. Over to you, Nichelle.
Thank you so much, Kurt, for that. Very, very insightful. So Kurt mentioned earlier that if you had a question, please drop in the Q&A. And so far we have one coming from Dawn, and she's asking, do we know how much repetition or duplication occur across other strategic plans of strategies and measures?
That's a good question. And I think you might be referring to the fact that when you're using AI, it's going out and searching. Like you'll see it when you're using like a ChatGPT, or if you're using a Gemini, you'll actually see how many websites it's visiting, and so forth. So I think what AI is doing is they're trying to aggregate that or synthesize that as much as possible. But there's certainly duplication. Hopefully I answered your question. If not, just pose it again if you need clarification.
All right, there's one from Tim. Do you think AI will make strategic consulting obsolete? Tim is trying to put us out
concerned about. I should have said that's a good question. Thank you so much for asking us. I should have said at the very beginning, and this is based on my decades of experience, not just as a consultant, but also as being part of an organization where I was responsible for strategic planning and strategy execution. These tools are extremely beneficial and can improve the process, expedite the process, and even reduce cost. I will say, though, that the human element is so important. And what I've also often said to folks is that it's the teams building team spirit, the collaboration, that human element that, in my opinion, at least for today, can't be replaced with technology. Is there, will it mean that we can enhance training that already is provided? Absolutely. Can we enhance consulting that's already provided? Absolutely. Can it reduce cost? I believe so. Are there any other questions?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking. So there's another from Samuel. It says, is AI able to bring rigor and deep insight into the strategic planning process?
That's a good question. I would say absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I am finding that AI is extremely valuable. As I mentioned during our consulting engagements or our training, the students are stuck, or the clients are stuck on measures, or they're stuck on objectives. It's very beneficial to sort of get the creative juices flowing, providing examples. But when you go from there, you're not, you don't just accept everything it gives you. So I think that AI is definitely beneficial, um, in enhancing the strategic planning process. The other thing that it's helpful for is just doing research, learning more about your profession. In this case, it's strategic planning or strategy management. Um, you know, there's so many good things that are being written out there today on a variety of different topics. And I've used AI just to gather some of that information, distill it, and improve my knowledge of strategy management.
Okay. We have one from David. Developments in AI now include value-added services where own databases augment public large language models to focus on particular types of organizations. Are you aware of developments like this towards strategic planning needs?
Hmm. I didn't catch. Can you read the first part of that question? Because I don't
Sure, no
see it.
problem, because it was a long one. It says developments in AI now include value-added services where owned databases augment public large language models to focus on particular types of organizations. Are you aware of developments like this towards strategic planning needs?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think you might be talking about proprietary um, data, or large language models. But yeah, I'm aware of it. I don't honestly, I don't have any particular answer to that question. But feel free to follow up if I'm missing it.
No problem. Vendra from Trinidad. Hi, Vendra. How do you deal with AI hallucinations? Hallucinations hidden in large output can cause errors, causing potential lost time, effort, and money.
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that, and I referenced it earlier in the presentation, but it's extremely important, is to not just do one prompt, get information and say, okay, good to go. And you'll get a lot of information, and that's great. But I would ask the question, or pose the prompts in different ways. Do follow-up prompts. But then the other thing is do your own research. Because I don't it's certainly not wise to just accept whatever you get the first time you do a prompt. You might get some wonderful information, and then say, okay, I'm good to go. I have found that when I've done that, it'll give me data that's from, perhaps it's dated information, or perhaps it's from an unreliable source, whatever may be the case. So follow up, follow up, follow up, and verify.
Okay, great. There's one from Stacy, and she's asking, is AI able to determine whether the initiatives planned on a roadmap are the right mix to achieve the strategic objectives and targets?
To a certain extent, I think, and in the next session, I'll talk about, doing scenario analysis, doing return on investment analysis for initiatives and so forth. I think AI can help you, point you in the right direction. Um, if it's an initiative that is already underway, or a portfolio of initiatives that are underway, then AI can help. But if you haven't started yet, it'll get you going, but it won't. I don't believe it's at the point where it'll give you the ideal solution.
Great. We have one from Gloria. And hi, Gloria. from St. Kitts. There are certain restrictions that are placed on employees' ability to access some of these AI tools at the workplace. What advice would you give to help a manager gain access to those tools to aid their strategic planning process?
Well, yeah, I worked at the Pentagon, and so I wasn't able to access a lot. And I never would say it publicly, but it means sometimes I had to do my homework at night. Um, but I think yeah, I don't know what your particular situation is, but I think you have to make the case that you need access to AI or AI tools, and you'll. But of course, there's always security concerns, so that will have to be worked out internally. I know I do,
Okay.
like I said, I do a lot of my best research in the evening, and that's at my home computer. Of course, I always follow security protocols.
We hope so. We have a lot of questions coming in. We had some prior to the webinar today, and one was, can AI replace human decision making in strategy management?
Yeah, and again, I don't believe that AI can definitely enhance the decision-making process, but I don't believe it's a replacement for, the ultimate decisions, because the decisions are not, and I think it's important to note that the decisions regarding your strategic plan or your overall strategy is based on all the key stakeholders within the organization and sometimes outside the organization. AI doesn't provide that.
Okay. How can small or medium-sized organizations start integrating AI into their strategy process?
I'm sorry, can you read that again, Michelle?
How can small or medium-sized organizations start integrating AI into their strategy process?
Yeah, so I think as I mentioned earlier, first, um, make sure you're very clear on your objectives and when and where you're going to be using AI. It is a learning process, so just assuming you can sit down and start using AI for strategic planning, no, there's a process you want to go through to learn more and more about how beneficial it could be. I would say as long as you've got some people within the organization who really understand strategic planning and how to use AI, then you can move from there. If not, then perhaps those people need some train. Some of the people need some training or some consulting to assist them in the process. But if it's a small organization, I understand that you may have to do most of that yourself. So definitely the training and definitely the orientation on the use of AI.
Okay. And what are some common challenges organizations face when adopting AI for strategic planning?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges is that, well, first of all, there's some people who are early adopters and some people who don't want to adopt AI at all. They fear AI. They don't believe that AI has value. So there's the change management component as well. Just making sure everyone understands where AI can be beneficial, where it may not be beneficial. The other thing is, if you're going to start using AI for strategic planning, have some established protocols or policies on when and where AI can and should be used.
Okay. We had another from, well, David said he didn't have an immediate example to his question before. And Tim is asking again, which tools in your experience have done the best uh, or a good job at integrating AI into strategic management software?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be talking about strategy management software today. In the Caribbean Summit, I will be specifically discussing the different software tools out there, or AI that's embedded in the different software tools out there. For today, if you've never used AI, some of the tools I projected earlier
are good tools to start with. If you're looking specifically for a fully integrated strategy management software that has quite a bit of AI in it or uses AI extensively, then I'll be sharing more on that.
Okay, great. And we can take one more from Noreen. And she's asking, can an AI companion approach be applied that provides an element for an organizational development and capacity building perspective on strategic action-oriented operational planning?
Let's see. Nichelle, I'm going to have to ask you to read that again. It was a long question.
Sure, no problem. So can an AI companion approach be applied that provides an element for an organizational development and capacity building perspective on strategic action-oriented operational planning?
Yes, I believe so. Again, I think I understand the question. I think it's specifically referencing the balanced scorecard
I think so.
framework. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yes, I believe it can. Again, it can provide prompts, it can provide examples, and it can assist with the action planning or the business planning. And it underscore assist that it doesn't replace the human element.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Kurt. We had a few others, but we're out of time for questions. What we would like to share is what we promised as it relates to our Caribbean Strategy Summit. Yeah. So here we go. I'm happy that you guys would have stayed on. And so this year's theme is on charting new horizons, strategic innovation for a resilient Caribbean. This year, we're going to be in St. Kitts. It's what I like to call our regional island tour. And so we would have done last year, we did it at the Royalton in St. Lucia. That was around strategy and strategic execution. This year, we're back again with strategic planning. The year before that, we had it on strategic performance management and KPI generation and so forth. And so it's 2 days making up the summit. We have day one or event one would be our symposium or conference, and then day two is our strategic planning essentials course. And so our dates would have been changed based on public demand. Some of you who are on would have received personalized emails. Issue being, they had the large music festival that was happening, and so there were challenges with logistics and getting persons in market for the conference and summit. Okay, so take note of the new dates, guys. You now have 3 weeks to make a determination. Our major partners and collaborators, of course, Strategy Management Group, BSI, and we have our in-market collaborator, the St. Kitts HR Professional Association. And so just to introduce myself again, I'm the MD of Strategy Plus Consulting, the founder of the Caribbean Strategy Summit. And so, as I mentioned earlier, Strategy Plus is an authorized global partner of the Balanced Scorecard Institute based in the Caribbean region. And so just a little of my background, over 20 years in HR. However, I fell in love with strategic planning when I went out to Washington in 2013, about 12 years ago, to do the Balanced Scorecard Professional Program. And so I continued every organization that I went to. I took the Balanced Scorecard framework and methodology with me, tried and proven, works like a charm for my HR persons on it. It really is a great competence to add to your belt and to ensure that you get your seat at the C-suite table and you keep your seat and you're able to basically add value at that level. A little bit about Strategy Plus. As I mentioned, we're the global partners. We're the only entity authorized to utilize the Balanced Scorecard 9-step framework here in the Caribbean at large. And we have trained possibly over 500 Caribbean participants to date through various means. some of our clients across the Caribbean, in St. Kitts itself, the TDC Group, the National Bank. We've done some work with Digicel, and then we have some in the other islands, of course, that you may also be familiar with: Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Lucia, British Virgin Islands, and so forth. Some of our solutions as well. So we do strategic planning, but we also offer executive training for balanced scorecard, strategic planning, performance management, and so forth. So our summit day one, we're expecting 3 expert BSI lecturers on strategy planning and 3 symposium regional panels. We usually have like about 9 to 12. Yes, we want to hear from Kurt and the other guys at BSI, but we also want to hear what's happening in the region as it relates to strategic planning. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered? What are some of the lessons learned? What are some of the wins that you've had across the region? And so we are inviting regional leaders as well as strategists. Our international BSI speakers, so this is the lineup. And so Joe as our keynote, Kurt will be joining us as well as David. Sometimes we have Howard chime in, so I have him up here. We've had him in past giving the keynote. Panelists for last year, right? We're not just ready to share our 2025. Please continue to look up the website and you will see them one by one, or on our socials. We would introduce each and every one of them. So we had from various industries, of course, finance and banking, oil and gas, telecommunications, the authority sector, utilities, and so forth. And of course, from various islands, Jamaica, Grenada, Barbados. 2023, same thing, different sectors, associations, yeah, and different countries, of course. Some international and some local. And so for day 2, the Balanced Scorecard Strategic Planning Essentials, our approach is usually a one-day interactive experience, and it's designed to help the participants to contribute to their organization's strategic management, performance improvement initiatives, and planning at large. We utilize the award-winning 9 Steps to Success. And so we try to emphasize shared participant experiences, lessons learned, and best practices, applied exercises and reinforcement, and support with tried and proven tools and techniques. So you basically learn from your colleagues, because it's a public class, and also from the facilitators. Okay. So who should attend? Of course, all executives are welcome. All of those that are being prepared for leadership roles, we welcome them as well. So whether it's C-suite CEOs, MDs, directors, if it's in government sector or state agencies, ministers, permanent secretaries, HODs, any senior managers, supervisors, senior professionals, we welcome strategists as well, those who work in these strategic planning offices and you would like to join and kind of hone your skills, even lead up into getting certified, this is the place for you. Remember, strategy is everybody's business. It's not an HR thing. It's not a C-suite thing. All functional areas get involved in strategy and have a part to play, whether it's in marketing, HR, finance, procurement, operations. Strategy is important, and aligning your unit strategy to the organization strategy. So I leave you with that. CSS 2025, guys, register now. You've got some additional time. So of course, use this contact information if you want to find out more or if you're ready to register. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you so much, Kurt, and thank you to all of the participants globally. Thank you to Candace for arranging from the Balanced Scorecard Institute. Bye-bye.